Kravik was a Vorlathian, 7 feet of muscle, bone plating and ego. Mostly ego, if we are being honest here. The guy had conquered 12 systems, brought 4 rebellions to their knees, and apparently never learned what humility meant. His scales were polished to a mirror shine, each one reflecting the kind of self-satisfaction that made you want to punch something. Preferably him. The Academy director, poor Commander Vex, was practically sweating through his thermal suit as Kravik stomped through the training grounds. Every step the general took sounded like a declaration of war against the floor itself. Thud, 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 thud. You could set a metronome to it. So this is what passes for military training these days? Kravik bellowed, his voice carrying across the entire compound. Several cadets from the Zentari delegation actually flinched. In my time we would have eaten recruits like these for breakfast. Literally. We were very aggressive back then. Vex laughed. It was the kind of laugh that said, please do not kill me. I have a family. General, we pride ourselves on maintaining the highest standards across all member species. Our graduation rate speaks for itself. Graduation rate, Kravik snorted. And I swear the sound could have stripped paint off a hull. I care about survival rate, Commander. Out there in real combat, your precious graduation certificates mean nothing. Less than nothing. That is when he saw her. Riley Torres stood at exactly 5 feet and 6 inches. Brown hair pulled back in a regulation bun. Brown eyes that had this unnerving quality of looking straight through you like you were transparent. She was running the obstacle course with 3 other cadets, and unlike the Brockthor who kept smashing through the barriers instead of going around them, she moved with this calculated efficiency that was honestly kind of creepy. Kravik stopped walking, his head tilted. What in the 7 hells is that? That, General, is Cadet Riley Torres, one of our human recruits. The laugh that came out of Kravik could have shattered glass. It started as a chuckle, built into a roar, and ended with him actually slapping his armored thigh. A human? You let humans into the academy now? What is next? Are we recruiting the squeakers from Plix 9? The ones that faint when you raise your voice? Riley had finished the course. She was not even breathing hard. She looked over at the commotion, saw Kravik pointing at her while bent over with laughter, and her expression did not change one bit. Not one single bit. That should have been his first warning. Kravik wiped what I assumed were tears from his eyes. Vorlathians do not actually cry, but the gesture was universal enough. Commander Vex, I absolutely must see this creature in action. For educational purposes, you understand. Educational purposes. Right. The same way a tornado educates a village about structural engineering. Vex looked like he wanted to crawl into his own shell and never come out. General, perhaps we could arrange a simulation review, or a tactical assessment session, or maybe we could just skip this entirely and I could show you the cafeteria. Nonsense. Kravik was already striding toward the training pavilion, his entourage of officers scrambling to keep up. I want a live demonstration. Combat assessment. Standard protocols. Word spread through the academy faster than a hull breach. Within minutes, cadets from every species were flooding into the observation decks. The Mantork twins were already arguing about whether humans had exoskeletons or not. A group of Shellback seniors were pooling credits for what I can only assume was a betting pool. Even the usually stoic Kryn instructors showed up, their multiple eyes blinking in what passed for curiosity among their Riley walked into the combat circle like she was going to a routine medical checkup. No bravado. No fear. Just this calm, almost bored acceptance that made my scales itch. She wore standard academy combat gear, which on a human looked about as threatening as a fluffkin in a sweater. You, Kravik pointed at her with one massive claw. Do you know who I am? General Kravik, sir. Vorlathian High Command. 12 system victories. 4 suppressed rebellions. Currently serving as military liaison to the Galactic Council. Riley's voice was flat, mechanical, also known for preferring frontal assault tactics and having a 67% casualty rate among troops under your direct command. The observation deck went silent. You could have heard a pin drop in vacuum. Kravik's face, and yes, even under all those scales you could tell, went through several colors. Purple, deep purple, almost black. You dare question my methods, human? No, sir. Just stating recorded facts, sir. Then you will have no problem demonstrating your supposed academy training against a real warrior. Kravik began removing his ceremonial armor plating. I will go easy on you, little mammal. I would hate to break our newest joke of a recruit before she even graduates. The shellbacks in the stands were frantically adjusting their bets. Smart money apparently was on how many seconds Riley would last. The over-under was 50. Riley simply nodded once. "Ready when you are, sir." Kravik's laugh echoed through the entire pavilion. His overconfidence was not just peaking anymore. It had built a house at the summit, planted a flag, and started charging rent. The combat arena activated with a low hum, energy barriers shimmering into place around the circle. Standard Academy protocol, designed to contain the fight and protect the spectators from, well, flying body parts mostly. The medical team wheeled their equipment closer. They looked extremely ready to earn their pay. Kravik rolled his shoulders, each movement producing sounds like grinding stone. "Tell me, little human, have you ever actually fought anyone? And I do not mean pillow fights or whatever soft rituals your species performs." Riley checked her hand wraps, pulling each one tighter with methodical precision. "I have fought, sir." "Against what? Other humans?" Kravik stretched his neck left, then right. Crack. Crack. "That hardly counts. You are all so fragile, so breakable. Like little eggs with legs." Someone in the observation deck, I think it was one of the Mantork twins, actually snorted at that. A Kryn instructor leaned over to her colleague, whispering something that made all 6 of his eyes blink, and what I had learned meant amusement. The shellback betting pool had grown considerably. Credits were changing hands faster than I could track. I caught fragments of conversation drifting down from the stands. 20 credits says she lasts 30 seconds. You are an optimist. I give her 20 tops. Does anyone actually think the human has a chance? Silence. Then nervous laughter. But not everyone was laughing. A few of the senior cadets, the ones who had actually trained alongside the humans, were watching with expressions that ranged from concerned to absolutely terrified. A Brakthor named Gormath, built like a tank with anger issues, was shaking his head slowly. "This is a mistake," he muttered to no one in particular. "This is a very bad mistake." Kravik, oblivious to everything except his own voice, continued his performance. "I once fought 17 Kryn warriors simultaneously." 17. "Do you know what I did to them, human?" "One, presumably, sir. I won spectacularly. I made art out of their defeat." He slammed his fist into his palm. "You should be honored. This story will follow you for the rest of your very short military career. The human who faced General Kravik and learned what real combat means." Riley met his eyes. Her expression had not changed once. Not once. Still calm. Still measured. Still absolutely unreadable. That composure was starting to unnerve even me. And I was safely behind the barrier. Vex stepped forward, looking like he was about to officiate his own funeral. "Combatants, ready? Standard Academy rules apply. Fight until submission, incapacitation, or I decide someone is about to die and I really do not want to file that paperwork." Kravik laughed again. "This will be over before you finish your sentence, Commander." Vex raised his hand, hesitated, probably reconsidering every life choice that had led to this moment. Then dropped it. "Begin." Kravik moved first, because of course he did. The man had all the subtlety of a meteor strike. He charged forward with a roar that rattled the energy barriers, his massive frame covering the distance in 3 thundering steps. His right fist came down in a hammer blow that could have dented a transport hull. It hit nothing but floor. Riley was not there anymore. She had shifted left, minimal movement, just enough to let his fist pass by her head with maybe an inch to spare. The impact crater where she had been standing spoke volumes about what would have happened if she had been slower, or stupid. "Stand still, mammal," Kravik growled, spinning with surprising speed for something his size. He launched a kick that would have separated her torso from her legs. Riley ducked under it, rolled forward, came up behind him. Her fist snapped out twice, quick jabs to his lower back where the scales were thinner. They connected with sharp cracks. Kravik barely flinched. "Is that supposed to hurt? I have been bitten by insects with more bite than you." But I noticed something. The other senior cadets noticed it too. Riley was not trying to hurt him with those strikes. She was testing, probing, finding weak points like a technician mapping out a ship's systems before deciding what to disable first. Kravik spun again, this time leading with an elbow strike. Traditional Vorlathian combat doctrine. Chapter 3, Aggressive Overwhelming Force. I had seen him use it in dozens of archived battles. It worked through intimidation and raw power, breaking opponents mentally before breaking them physically. Riley slipped the elbow, stepped into his guard, and drove her knee up toward his midsection. Kravik blocked with his forearm, the impact producing a meaty thud that echoed through the arena. He grinned, showing rows of predatory teeth. There is some fight in you after all. How delightful. He grabbed for her, those massive hands reaching to catch her in a crushing grapple. Standard follow-up. Chapter 3, verse 12. Establish grip. Apply pressure. Listen to bones snap. Riley twisted, her body moving in ways that looked physically improbable. She was smaller, yes, but that meant she could move through spaces Kravik could not reach. She rolled across his arm using his own momentum against him, and suddenly she was on his back, legs wrapped around his torso, one arm snaking toward his neck. The observation deck erupted in shocked chattering. Credits were changing hands again, faster now, more frantic. Kravik reached back, grabbed her by the collar, and threw her off with enough force to send her tumbling across the arena floor. She rolled with it, came up in a crouch, still calm, still measured, not even breathing hard. And that was when I saw it. Just for a moment, a flicker of something crossing Kravik's face. Not quite doubt, not quite concern, but definitely not the absolute certainty that had been there 30 seconds ago. He had expected this to be over already. Expected her to be down, crying, begging, broken. Instead, she was studying him like he was a problem to be solved. A puzzle to be taken apart piece by piece. You are quicker than expected, Kravik admitted, rolling his shoulders again. But speed means nothing without strength. Let me show you the difference. He charged again, but this time there was something different in his approach. Something that looked suspiciously like actual effort. The mistake was not that he underestimated her. The mistake was that he had already made his choice to humiliate rather than simply defeat. And Riley Torres, I was beginning to realize, was the kind of opponent who punished mistakes without mercy or hesitation. The fight shifted. Kravik was no longer playing. His attacks came faster, harder, with the kind of precision that had earned him his reputation. A spinning backfist caught Riley across the shoulder, sending her stumbling sideways. A follow-up kick connected with her ribs, and even from the observation deck I heard the impact. She went down. Finally, the shellbacks were already counting their winnings. Except she got back up. Not slowly, not shakily. She just stood, rolled her shoulder once, and reset her stance. Her face showed pain. Sure, you could see it in the tightness around her eyes, but her expression had not changed. Still calm, still focused. What? Kravik actually sounded confused. That kick breaks bones. I have shattered Kryn exoskeletons with that kick. Riley said nothing, just moved back into range. Fine. Kravik's voice had lost some of its theatrical quality. We do this the hard way. What followed was brutal. Kravik abandoned all pretense of style and went straight for damage. He caught Riley with a palm strike that snapped her head back, followed with a knee that doubled her over, grabbed her by the arm and threw her into the barrier wall with enough force that the energy field sparked and crackled. The medical team actually started moving forward. Vex raised his hand, ready to call it. Riley peeled herself off the barrier. Blood trickled from her nose. Her left arm hung at an odd angle. Dislocated shoulder, probably. She reached up with her right hand, grabbed her left arm, and with a sickening pop that made half the observation deck wince, shoved it back into socket. Then she walked back to the center of the arena. By the void, someone whispered from the stands. I think it was Gormeth. She is not stopping. Humans do not stop, another voice added. One of the human cadets in the upper deck. We are really bad at knowing when to quit. Kravik stared at her. Actually stared. Stay down. I am giving you an out here, human. Take it. Not done yet, sir. Riley's voice was rough, strained, but steady. You wanted a demonstration. I am demonstrating. Something in Kravik's posture changed. The confidence was cracking. He had thrown everything at her. Strikes that would have ended most opponents. And she kept getting up, kept coming back. Like some kind of broken toy that refused to stop working. He rushed her again, faster now, more aggressive, but there was desperation in it. His technique was slipping. Chapter 3 was forgotten. This was just raw power and growing panic wrapped in scales and muscle. Riley dodged left, then right, taking hits but never stopping, never slowing. Each time he connected, she absorbed it, processed it, adapted. Her counter-strikes were coming faster now, targeting the same spots over and over. His knee joints, the soft tissue under his arms, the base of his skull. Just go down, Kravik was almost pleading now. Why will you not just go down? The betting pool in the stands had gone completely silent. No one was counting credits anymore. They were watching something they had never seen before. A human demonstrating the one advantage their species had over almost every other in the galaxy. They were too stupid to know when they were beaten. Or too stubborn. Honestly, with humans, it was hard to tell the difference. Kravik stepped back, breathing hard. His polished scales were dulled with sweat and dust. His movements had lost their precision, but he still had size, he still had strength, and he still had his pride, which at this point was the most dangerous thing in the arena. You know what? He straightened up, forcing that theatrical tone back into his voice. I admire your resilience, human. Truly. But admiration does not change reality. He raised his fists, settling into a wider stance. Traditional Vorlathian finishing position. I had seen it in the archives. Chapter 7. The Executioner's Pose. This has been entertaining, but all entertainment must end. He actually smiled, showing every single tooth. Say goodnight, little mammal. And then he laughed. That same booming, arrogant laugh from before. The one that said he owned the room, owned the moment, owned the entire galaxy and everyone in it. That laugh lasted exactly 3 seconds. Because Riley moved. Not away. Toward. She closed the distance while he was mid-laugh. His guard momentarily relaxed in his moment of self-assured victory. Her right foot planted. Her left leg swept up in an arc that seemed to defy human anatomy. The kick caught him under the chin, snapping his head back with enough force that his teeth clacked together like gunshots. Kravik stumbled backward, dazed, his hands dropping for just a moment. Just one moment. Riley did not waste it. She jumped, using his bent knee as a stepping point, her momentum carrying her upward. Her right elbow came down like a hammer, the point striking the crown of his skull with surgical precision. Once. Twice. The third strike hit the same spot with every ounce of force her battered body could generate. The sound was not a crack. It was a crunch. Wet. Organic. Final. Kravik's eyes went wide. His legs buckled. He dropped to his knees, hands reaching up to his head where fluid was already seeping between his scales. Dark blue blood, Vorlathian standard, pooling in his palms. Riley landed in front of him, stumbled, caught herself. Her chest heaved with exhaustion. Her left arm hung useless again. Blood from her nose had painted her chin red, but she was standing. Kravik was not. He swayed, those massive hands still clutching his ruined skull, his mouth working but no sound coming out. His eyes found hers, and in them was something I had never seen in any recording of the great General Kravik. Understanding and fear. He fell forward face first into the arena floor. The impact shook the ground. He did not move after that, did not twitch, did not breathe. The arena was silent, completely, utterly silent. The medical team rushed in, scanners out, already working on the general's motionless form. One of them looked up at Vex, shook his head once. Urgent hand signals followed. Critical. Severe trauma. Immediate intervention required. Riley stood there swaying slightly, watching them work. Her expression had not changed. Still calm. Still measured. Like she had just finished a routine training exercise instead of ending one of the most decorated military careers in galactic history. Vex stared at the scene, his mouth hanging open. What? He said slowly, carefully. In the actual void just happened. No one answered. Because honestly, none of us really knew. The medical team hauled Kravik out on an emergency transport sled, his body strapped down, emergency life support equipment beeping frantically. Severe cranial fractures, they were saying. Brain hemorrhaging. Induced coma necessary. Possible permanent damage. The words floated through the stunned silence like debris after an explosion. Vex turned to Riley, his voice barely above a whisper. Cadet Torres, report to medical immediately. Sir. Yes, sir. She walked toward the medical bay without looking back, her gait uneven but determined. 2 medics had to support her by the time she reached the exit. The adrenaline was wearing off, apparently, and her body was finally admitting that it had just been used as a punching bag by a 7-foot combat veteran. The observation deck erupted, not in cheers, in chaos. Did she just kill a general? No. No, he is alive. Barely. I think. Maybe. How did a human do that? What are humans? I found myself standing next to Gormath, who was shaking his enormous head. I tried to warn them, he muttered. Every species in the academy, I told them. Do not fight the humans in hand-to-hand. Do not. Why? I had to ask. They are small, weak by most standards. No natural armor, no venom, no enhanced strength. Exactly. Gormith turned to look at me and there was something haunting in his eyes. They have nothing, so they learned everything. I trained with 3 humans last cycle. You know what their instructors teach them? Pain tolerance, bone conditioning, how to function with injuries that would incapacitate most species. They call it martial arts, but it is really just weaponized stubbornness. One of the academy combat instructors, a Kryn named Stellix, had pulled up Riley's training file on a datapad. Her multiple eyes scanned the contents, widening with each line. Oh no. What? Vex was beside her in an instant. Her hand-to-hand specialization. It is listed right here. How did we miss this? Stellix turned the pad so everyone could see. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, Krav Maga, something called Sambo. Her homeworld certifications include, let me see, military combative as instructor level 3, trauma response specialist. She paused. Championship titles in 4 different combat sport categories. The silence that followed was deafening. So what you are telling me? Vex said slowly is that General Kravik challenged a human combat specialist to single combat, and none of us thought to check her file first. In our defense, Stellix offered weakly, she is only 5'6". From the medical bay a priority alert chimed. Kravik's condition had stabilized. Barely. He would live, the report stated, but his combat career was over. Permanent neurological damage. Early retirement recommended. Psychological evaluation pending. The great General Kravik, conqueror of 12 systems, had been ended not by an army, not by superior tactics, but by one exhausted human cadet who weighed maybe 130 pounds soaking wet. The galaxy was never going to let him live this down, assuming he ever woke up to care. The academy changed overnight. Suddenly, human cadets were not the punchline anymore. They were the question mark. The unknown variable that made everyone nervous. In the cafeteria I watched as a Brakthor squad gave Riley and her fellow humans a wide berth. The same Brakthor who just yesterday had been making jokes about human fragility and suggesting they should stick to administrative roles. Now they ate their meals in silence, occasionally glancing over with what could only be described as cautious respect. The betting pools transformed too. Now the credits were on which human would make the next impossible victory. The odds were complicated, involved multiple variables, and nobody was laughing anymore while placing their bets. Commander Vex implemented new protocols within a week. Mandatory file reviews before any combat demonstrations. Stricter guidelines on interspecies challenges. A strongly worded memo about not provoking species you do not fully understand, which everyone knew was directed at visiting dignitaries with oversized egos. I found Riley 3 days later in the training hall, working through physical therapy exercises. Her shoulder was wrapped, her ribs were taped, and she moved like every motion hurt. Because it probably did. Cadet Torres. I approached carefully. Can I ask you something? She looked up, that same calm expression in place. Sure. Did you know you could win? Against Kravik? She considered the question, rolling her newly repaired shoulder slowly. I knew I could survive. Winning was secondary. Humans are good at surviving things that should kill us. It is kind of our specialty. And the general. He made assumptions based on appearance. Riley returned to her exercises. Common mistake. Fatal, sometimes. He saw small and thought weak, saw mammal and thought soft. He forgot that evolution does not care about looking impressive. It cares about result. I left her to her training, my mind working through the implications. Every species in the Galactic Academy had evolved their own advantages. The Vorlathians had strength and armor. The Kryn had numbers and coordination. The Brakthor had raw aggression and size. Humans had nothing obvious. No claws, no scales, no venom, just endurance, adaptability, and apparently an absolute refusal to acknowledge when they were outmatched, which made them either the bravest species in the galaxy or the most dangerously insane. With humans, I was starting to realize those might be the same thing. General Kravik learned that lesson the hard way. The rest of us learned it by watching. And somewhere in a medical facility 3 systems away, Kravik was probably learning to eat solid foods again, and wondering where his legendary career went wrong. The answer was simple. He laughed at a human. She crushed his skull 10 seconds later. The galaxy adjusted its understanding of humanity accordingly. We are still adjusting,